There's more Titanic information. A lot more. I just finished watching Titanic: The Digital Resurrection on Nat Geo. Go watch it. If you're watching this today, then it's been 113 years to the day since the Titanic sank on April 14th, 1912. Yet the wreckage remained lost until Bob Ballard discovered it in 1985, so 73 years after it sunk. And even then, only the bow was found. The stern was still unaccounted for. Until recently, extreme depth, crushing pressure, and pitch black darkness meant the explorers could only glimpse small portions of the wreckage at a time, kind of like shining a flashlight into the dark. Until now. Two underwater robots, Romeo and Juliet, worked 24 hours a day for 3 weeks straight to create the first ever complete digital twin of the Titanic. The resulting data would take 2 full years to process, but now it's finally here, giving us an unprecedented view of the entire wreck of the Titanic for the very first time. It's hard to describe, but seeing the wreck in its entirety is both breathtaking, but also very unsettling. It's like watching a scene from a horror movie, seeing the wreck rise up from the seafloor. The digital recreation is also insanely detailed. That is the Titanic's starboard propeller, which you can clearly read 410, which is the Titanic's hull number. To properly display the model, engineers built a special studio with LED screens hundreds of feet tall, recreating the wreck to actual size and scale. So that propeller you just saw was to scale. The night of the disaster at 11:39 p.m., 3 bells rang out to warn of an obstacle ahead. First Officer Murdoch immediately cut power, but seconds later, the Titanic hit the iceberg. But contrary to popular belief, it was so subtle that many of the passengers didn't even hear or notice that the ship had been hit. Naturally, after this disaster, the world demanded answers from the designer of the Titanic, Edward Wilding, as to why and how the unsinkable ship sank. Wilding, working off very little info, calculated that a series of puncture holes measuring about 12 square feet caused the sinking by flooding more than 4 compartments. The Titanic was built to stay afloat with only 4 compartments flooded. Professor John Key Pike simulated the collision and confirmed that Wilding's theory was remarkably accurate. The iceberg barely grazed the ship, making contact for a grand total of 6.3 seconds. That's it, but that was enough contact to create a series of puncture holes across 18 square feet. But when you see the wreckage, as Park Stevenson put it perfectly, it looks like it had been struck by a missile. That is how catastrophic the damage was. Holes the size of printer paper across 6 compartments caused the Titanic to sink. The other popular Wilding theory that is still talked about today is that the Titanic would have survived if they hit the iceberg head on. Now the simulation puts that theory to the test, and it is absolutely